Assalamu alaikum ji. Hassan Shariq, Canadian immigration consultant, back with another live session on Canadian immigration. My prayers and wishes that all of you, along with your families, are doing really well wherever in the world you are, and hope you're enjoying your summers in different parts of the world. So there are a few updates that I wanted to share, and then we will move on to our regular question and answer session. So first of all, recently I uploaded a video in which I mentioned about one of the programs, which is the Yukon Community Pilot Program. Right now it is creating a lot of buzz all around the world. Social media platforms are filled with all the different information about this particular program. And my staff and me, we are getting a lot of questions and queries about this particular program. So I thought that first, although I made a video, a lot of people inquired about it, but there was still a bit of a confusion. So I'll start off with some details for this particular program so that people can have some clarity. So Yukon Community Pilot Program, just like many other programs, it is a regional focus program, and it is an employer-led program. So keep in mind that this program is not a program in which the applicants can apply on their own. Basically, this is an employer nomination based program. Employers within the province of Yukon and within the 5 to 6 different communities, I can pull up the list. It is Whitehorse, Dawson Lake, Caracas, a few places like that. Only employers in these regions can nominate people. So all the questions and queries that I've been getting about the Yukon Community Pilot Program, there's a lot of videos, posts on social media, and I keep repeating that most of them are by non-immigration practitioners. So the focus over there is just to sell their videos or their social media posts, and that's why sometimes they present it in a way that people think that it's a very easy immigration pathway to qualify under. Yes, but not always true in all the cases. So Yukon Community Pilot Program, it is an employer-led program. Those who are looking at assessing their eligibility against this particular program, keep in mind that you have to first have a job offer from an employer within that region. Now, for those of you who've been trying for landing into jobs in Canada, in like anywhere in Canada, would know that it's not an easy task. Also, keep in mind that a lot of times we in my firm, my staff get to have all these questions and queries where people ask that if we are able to help them secure a job. Absolutely no. Like, my firm is an immigration law firm. We only focus on processing immigration piece of things. We do not provide any recruitment services. And in Canada, recruitment services are provided by a different set of professionals, which is recruitment consultants. They are not into immigration. Some immigration firms in smaller towns also have an additional recruitment service, so they might be able to help you with that. But otherwise, immigration firms will not be able to help you with recruitment services. So keep that thing in mind. Also, one of the very important things, and my objective, like I do my own practice, I have that, but one of my major objectives of doing these social media posts and talking to people about Canadian immigration like this is that a lot of people out there do not have the right information, and then a lot of these non-licensed consultants who are working in different parts of the world, who are not RCICs or Canadian immigration lawyers and not recognized by the Canadian government at all, they scam people And that's where a lot of time I get to have this query that we're willing to pay this much amount of money if you could help us with job. Now you need to understand that, and I might be digressing from the topic, but I think this is very important. This is like a public service message that I'm conveying. See, for all of you, most of you who are looking at immigrating to Canada or anywhere else from whichever country you are educated professional people. Now, as educated professional people who've probably done some work, who've had a few years of work experience, you do understand that jobs are advertised, against which there is a whole recruitment process. The employer will first get hold of profiles and applicants and then shortlist it, do their interview or their recruitment process, and then finalize a candidate. It's not that an employer can say to me or XYZ that, okay, we need a software developer, we need a database administrator, we need an electrical engineer, can you go find that for me? No, that's not how it works. Under Canadian laws, provincial and federal laws, anybody charging you for placement into a job, that is a crime, that is a federal crime. So nobody can charge you for placement on a job. Yes, the recruitment services firms which help people or which help the employers find the right employees, they do provide these services, and they do charge money from the employer. They can charge you for some assistance in terms of helping you with your CV, helping you with interview process, creating your better profile on LinkedIn and other places, but they cannot charge you for placement onto a job. So keep in mind that all these things which happen, and I would accept it that these buying and selling of jobs happens. This is all an illegal practice. There is a strong likelihood that you might end up wasting your money. So for all of you who are interested in looking for jobs in Canada, you should do your search online as professionals. Do not ask people to find jobs for you, because the best way to do is that you first go online, create a very nice LinkedIn profile, make sure that your CV is developed as per the Canadian pattern, how Canadian employers look at the resume. Develop those cover letters for your profession. Look for jobs on various job boards. So there's Indeed, there's the Job Bank, there's quite a lot of other options that are available to you. So try and look for jobs through those forums rather than asking people to arrange a job for you. Now, I don't get this whole point when people say that, can you arrange a job for me? That's not how it will work. You have to apply on your own. At times, if there is a job that is advertised by the employer and an immigration consultant or a recruitment consultant is helping you with that, that will again be properly advertised, and nobody should be charging huge sums of money against it. What happens is that for when people go out and they say that, okay, we need this job, that's where people will ask you for $20,000, $25,000 and $30,000. A lot of times, if somebody is offering you such a job, please ask them that, can you provide us a bank account in Canada where we can transact this amount? And they will say no. So people will ask for money in cash because this is not a legal transaction. So keep in mind that if you are dealing on such a transaction where you're paying somebody money for a job in Canada, you have to do your due diligence. So that was my bit of my guidance, instruction for all of you in terms of these paid job offers. Coming back, the Yukon Community Pilot Program. So it's an employer-led program wherein you have to look for job. It's a very small area. It's pretty cold out there, and that's why the government has come up with a policy where you're allowed to have 2 to 3 jobs, because at times the economy is not big, the jobs will not be ample. So at times there can be a possibility where you are actually required to have 2 employers offering you a job, because the requirement is that you must have full-time job offer. Full-time in Canada means 30 hours per week or more than that. So it is a likelihood that you are offered a job by an employer which is only 20 hours per week. So then you have to have another job offer which is at least 10 hours per week. Now if you have 2 job offers which accumulate up to 30 hours per week, 3 job offers which accumulate up to 30 hours per week or more, that's when you become eligible. So what will happen is that once you have these job offers, your employer is going to apply for approval from the Yukon government. You get that approval and then you apply for the work permit under this particular program. So it seems very easy. Yes, no requirement of IELTS. Yes, no LMIAs. But if you break it down and you look at the different stages or processes involved, see, first you have to find employers, not just one, but 2 or 3 employers. So you might be able to find an employer, but it might just be one. The total number of work hours that you are offered per week has to be 30 or more. So second challenge or second condition. Third, it must not be a seasonal work. So the work has to be such that it is a consistent supply of work all around the year. So you can't really be offered a job where only in the summers there is some kind of activity and you're offered that, okay, in summer 3 months this is what you will be offered. It has to be an ongoing work activity. So that's the third requirement. Once that happens and you have these 2 or 3 employers offering you job which fulfill these requirements, that's when your employer puts up an application to the Yukon government for an approval from the Yukon government. You get that approval from Yukon government, and that is when work permit is applied through IRCC. Now IRCC is going to look at all the requirements that are there for a normal work permit application other than the LMIA requirement, and on top of that there has to be some relevance in terms of the work experience that you've had and the kind of job that is being offered. So it's not possible that you've been doing a very different role in the past and all of a sudden what happens is that you end up getting a job of say a teller in a bank, or you get a hospitality related job in Yukon, but your work experience has all been accounting. So this relevance has to be there as well. Because this is an employer-led and this is a pilot program, so the way it will work is that first of all you will have a work permit for 2 years. At the end of those 2 years you will be nominated by the province for a provincial nomination. Through that provincial nomination you will be able to get your permanent residency sorted out. So that's how this program is. As summary, it's an employer-led program. You have to first find job offers, 2 to 3 job offers from that designated area. It is you yourself who has to find those jobs. Nobody else will be able to do it for you. If there is somebody who is going to do this, keep in mind that it is not supposed to be that you have to pay for that. If somebody is asking you to pay for that job, then definitely there is some under the table, some illegal practice happening over there. My suggestion would be to stay away from that. Once that's done, you apply for the work permit, you move to the province of Yukon, and then you get your PR. Now keep in mind that a lot of you, just in the excitement of the things, would want to get in, and in a way it's fine as well if you're not able to get Canadian immigration through some other way and you have this opportunity, great. But keep in mind that this is a very, very cold region, and not everybody will be able to sort of settle over here, and you have to spend at least 2 years over here because you're on a work permit. So you can't really be, if you don't work there for 2 years and you don't fulfill your requirements, you will not be getting your provincial nomination, which is going to lead you towards your permanent residency. So keep that in mind as well. This is next to Alaska. It's a very small place, and the biggest town is Whitehorse, which is about 25,000 people living over there. All other cities are around 1,000, or in many cases a few hundred people. So do your due diligence, even if you're offered an opportunity, and not just be carried away with the excitement of the things. So that's something that I wanted to touch upon in terms of this new pilot program, because it's making rounds out there. Some other stuff I've already mentioned for a lot of students who are looking at joining in the fall 2020 intake for various Canadian institutions. Keep in mind that now you have a two-staged approval process, where if you have all your documentation in terms of your financial documentation, as well as your documentation of letter of acceptance, academic documentation, you can submit your application online, the study permit application online. If you submit it by 15th of September, so that's why I'm re-emphasizing, because now we are coming close to that particular deadline. If you submit your application by 15th September, you will be you can be granted the first stage approval for your study permit. Once the medical centers, the biometric centers open in your country, wherever you're living, and you can submit those documents, that's when the second stage approval will happen. If you have the first stage approval, and even if you start your studies online for the fall 2020 intake, this will be considered as in Canada study, and you will be eligible for postgraduate work permit. So for a lot of those applicants who were a little reluctant starting the online study because of the postgraduate work permit issue, I think you need to move fast, because 15 September is just around the corner now. Also keep in mind that for some of the students where the study has a component of in-class or in-person element, like if you're doing maybe engineering study and you have to be in Canada for some practicals or lab work, you are required to obtain a letter from your education provider, which clearly mentions, and some of the high commissions or processing centers around the world have actually started asking for letters from education providers, which clearly mentions if the mode of instruction for the fall intake will be completely online, or will it be some component of in-person classes and online studies. So if you are applying for fall 2020, I would suggest you ask your education provider to provide you with a letter which clearly mentions what will be the mode of delivery of study for the fall intake. If there is some in-person component, then you have to get that letter from your education provider and provide that as part of your study permit, and then later on there is a specific email on which you submit that. Once you get your visa approved, you need to provide that letter so that the Canadian Border Services Agency, CBSA, can allow you to travel to Canada, because even till date there is a travel restriction. Only if it is essential travel, where the need to travel to Canada is essential, only then you can travel. So for students who are looking at traveling in fall intake, if it's students who are already enrolled in Canadian institutions, or students who are starting their degrees and programs this fall, if you need to be in Canada and you're planning on traveling, do get this letter from your education provider which clearly states that there is an in-person component, and inform IRCC before you travel. Get an approval from them for your travel so that you don't have troubles at the border once you land at the port of entry. So that's an important piece that I wanted to share as well. We had the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program round of invitation about a week ago, a little more than a week, and we saw that again it was a tech draw. So I would encourage people who are there's about 6 or 7 different knock codes you can write in the once this video is uploaded. You can mention your knock code in the comment section of this particular video, and myself and my social media team will be able to reply back if your knock is part of the OINP regular draws. So there's about 6 or 7 tech knocks, and then there's some general knocks, which is again about 6 to 7 of those as well. So if you're looking for a PNP option, once this video gets uploaded, I would encourage that you in the comment sections of the video do post so I will suggest that you do post your sorry, there was a bit of a break in. Yeah, I'm sorry if my stream was lost in between somewhere. I think there was an issue with the internet connection. Repeating that, if you're looking for a PNP option, I would highly recommend that you post your knock code in the comment section of this particular video, and we will try and guide you with the PNP options that can be available for you. So moving towards the questions that we have. Adil Emmanuel, welcome bro. Adil, welcome. Altaf Hussain, Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum Altaf, hope you're doing well. Asfad Khan is asking what program. Asfad, I've already mentioned the program. I was talking about the Yukon Community Pilot Program. Altaf Hussain, again same question, what do you think about the next draw? Is this an FSW or CEC draw? I think now it will be FSW draws. Some people do believe that it's going to be a two-pronged strategy. But my own opinion is that now it is going to be FSW draws, but we might see a few CEC draws here and there as well. But the next next possible draw would most likely be FSWP. I'm really sorry. I see that there's some issue with my internet connection, and it's not the greatest, so you guys might not be able to see the best of the quality. So if that's happening, I'm really sorry for that, but I'll continue answering. Adil Emmanuel, I want your consultancy. I'm paid. Adil, you can send an email on the email address which is on the screen, which is info@shariqimmigration.com. My staff, and just mention that you would want to use our paid services. If any of you would want to use our paid services, you can go to my firm's website, which is www.shariqimmigration.com. And you can find the fees that we charge for various services. we have an option of a consultation session as well, where you could just book a consultation with me if you would like to discuss something in specific. So there's that option as well, and for various applications we have our fees listed over there. So you could send an email and my staff will get back to you with the possible appointment time and then the fee for that. So writing an email is the best way for that. Okay. Arjun, hi Shariq, me and my wife are currently at 460 FSW, NOC 4031. We can add 6 points max by taking IELTS again. Do we have a chance in coming 3 to 6 months at 460, or should I take IELTS and try to reach 66? If you can improve your IELTS, definitely go with that one. I would never say that do not improve. 460 again is a very marginal one. We still don't know if IRCC is going to continue with FSW draws or all-inclusive draws on a consistent basis. So my suggestion would be that you should improve your score and then see how things unfold. 460 is still a bit early to predict if scores will fall that low. I do believe that they'll get into 460s, but I'm still not sure if it will go as low as 460. So my suggestion: improve your score and let's see how it unfolds. Don't wait for it. See, the point is, do the best that you can do and then let it be your destiny. Rehan Ahmed, hi Shariq, hi Rehan, I am doctor and currently in the pool with 456 and 467 and I will be 30 in December 20. What's your suggestion? Will I get the idea before December 2020 or suggest me other path? As I'm Rehan, as a doctor, you do not have option of PNPs unless that you've been working in some different field and not as a medical doctor. As a medical doctor, your only option is the Federal Skilled Worker Program. With 467, you have a good chance. 30th December, we have a lot of time. So let's wait and see. Again, if there is a possibility that you can improve your IELTS score even slightest and increase your points by even 2 to 3 CRS points, I would suggest go for that. 467 seems to be a competitive score at this stage, but we'll have to wait and see like a few more draws, and then probably it will be more clear as to what the IRCC policy is going to be in the long term. Ajay, hello Shariq, hope you're doing well. My question is that after getting here, what do they check in reviewing eligibility check and how much time it could take approximately? So eligibility check is the R10 check, where they first have a look that the program for which you have applied, do you meet the basic eligibility for that? So if you've applied for so first of all, it will be if you meet the eligibility for express entry. For express entry, basic eligibility is that you must have at least an education equal to Canadian high school. Your IELTS score must not be less than 6 in each of the modules. You should have at least 1 year of work experience. And if it is the Federal Skilled Worker Program, then it is 1 year of continuous work experience, and you have to meet the point threshold, the 67 point mark. So that's eligibility check. If in any of these you do not meet your eligibility as per the legal definition of that, your application can be rejected at this stage. It is after you meet the eligibility check, you pass the stage, that they will look at your CRS and they'll start looking at each of the individual factors and see if you meet the requirements for the CRS that you claimed and for which you got the ITA. So first is basic eligibility. It depends as to how long it can take. In some cases it will only be a few weeks. In some cases it can be a month to 2 months. Currently, there is a bit of a delay in all kind of processings, because a lot of officers are doing it from here in Canada and not in places that they're usually doing it. Even a lot of IRCC offices in Canada are not working on full capacity. So there is a possibility of delay, but this particular stage would be a few weeks only, I would suggest. It's an important one that you meet the basic eligibility for express entry and the program that you applied for. Okay, so next is TV Suresh. That's a nice abbreviation for your name. I have a score of 475 and got OINP invitation. Score goes to 470 in mid-September. Should I consider OINP? If I consider OINP, am I not eligible for FSW? No, that's not the case. You are still eligible for that if you have an invitation of OINP. I would suggest that anybody in current situation, whoever gets a nomination by any of the province or regions, you should go for it. If I was in your position, I would not wait for it. I know it's an additional $1,500 if you go with OINP. It's going to be a few more extra months, but in your case, keep in mind you have your nomination from Ontario. A lot of people who move to Canada, and if they're getting a nomination by a smaller province, their trouble is that they ultimately want to be in Ontario, in Toronto, or close to Toronto. Now you are getting that, so you would really not want to sort of move out of this province. You're perfectly fine. The only thing is that you have to spend some extra money, and there can be 2 to 3 months. A bird in hand is always better than two on the bush. You do not have an invitation for FSW or CEC. You have an invitation of OINP. Start working on your documents. You get 45 days to submit that. You might have already wasted a few of them. By wasting, I mean some of them might have already been passed. So proceed with it. In the meantime, if you get an ITA, great. A lot of those documents would be required for FSWP application as well. But do not waste these opportunities by provinces, by regions that you get at this time. Get in Canada, gain that experience 1 or 2 years, and you can always relocate. So that's my suggestion to anybody who's in this situation. So TV Suresh, my suggestion to you is proceed with OINP. In the meantime, if you get FSWP ITA, great. Otherwise, get done with this PNP nomination that you have. Jeevan, hello sir. Hello Jeevan. My resident country is Dubai and my home country is India. My question is, do I need to include my travel days to India in my travel history? Ideally, you would be required to that because you are resident in Dubai. So provide all the travel details. It is always good to provide some extra details rather than the visa officer or the case officer becoming curious and doubtful on some things and asking you for those details. Shayamil, can we extend work permit without having LMIA? Currently on postgraduate work permit, have not a job. You cannot have your postgraduate work permit extended. So PGWP cannot be extended. Other work permits can be. KKK, hi Shariq, hi KKK. Yeah, it's been a while. He says, almost missed your session as didn't see a notification. Glad you're back today. Just wanted to wish you a good day. No questions today. I'm happy to answer your questions as well. Yeah, I was sort of busy with some personal stuff, so I couldn't really have the notification created. So I just thought I didn't want to miss the stream, the weekly stream. But just been pretty busy with some applications and some work stuff, so couldn't really do that the other day. Ajay said, nope, you cannot extend without LMA, but you could stay in implied status if you want to buy some time to stay after PGWP expires. Yeah, that's true. Thanks, Shyamil, for that. If I were, I'm, I'm missing where I was. Okay, Shyamil, actually, I'm sort of 2 months for completing 3 years experience. Fair enough. Gagan Barar, any update on biometric services? In some countries, the biometrics centers have opened up already. I know that in Middle East, in Pakistan, they've opened up the services. You will have to check because biometric services are not under Canadian government or those bodies. It is the policy of VFS. So you will have to check with them if they are starting it in India. Asma Bashir, my knock is 2148. Thanks a lot for giving me satisfaction. Thanks, Altaf. Asma, please mention your knock once this video is uploaded. Please mention this knock in the comment section of the video, and then myself or my staff, because don't want to answer these things in a haste. I'm a licensed professional over here, recognized by the government of Canada. So everything that I mention, I first verify those things because things keep changing. So for PNP interested applicants, you can mention your knock code in the comment section of this video once this will be uploaded in another like maybe 15-20 minutes, 30 minutes once we finish. And then myself and my staff will have a look at that, see in which PNPs those knocks are being picked, or if they're not being picked by any of the PNPs, and we can comment on that. So do mention it in the comment section of this particular video once we finish this session. Arjun, is there any validity of experience letter issued by the employer? I have arranged for it in Jan 2020 so that all docs are in place before receiving the ITA. Now waiting. Arjun, there's no validity of experience letter because it's an experience letter. It doesn't change. The validity is for documents like if it's a police certificate. If a lot of time has passed in between, so your criminality might have changed, or your criminality situation might have changed. There might have been some an act which is now considered as a crime, which you've done in that time period, or if you committed a crime or such an act, if enough time has passed, that can be removed from your history as well. So in terms of experience, it stays the same. So it doesn't matter how old it was. Just keep in mind that when it's issued, depending on who issued it, who had the signatures on it, and the contact person, if the same person can be contacted or the contact details remain the same. So that's the only thing to consider. Otherwise, see, if you're working in an organization and they gave you an experience letter which was as per the requirements of IRCC, like if somebody's working in Canada, they would always get that kind of experience letter. Now that can actually be issued once you left the job. You might have left that job 5 years ago. So it's not that because it's 5 years now you need a new document. No. So there's absolutely no validity date for an experience letter. It's fine. You just have to make sure the contact details remain the same. Adil Emmanuel, okay, will send you. Fair enough, Adil. Adil, I am respiratory therapist, but in community pilot program there is no job for my field. So can I apply for another job there to get residency, or can I apply in my related field? Adil, I've already mentioned that specifically for the Yukon community pilot program, your job offer and your previous experience has to be relevant. Now, if you have a degree, now these are two different things. In Canada, for a lot of professions, you're not required to have a specific education. So if you have had an education as a respiratory therapist, but you've been working in a different field, your experience, your knock will be considered as per your experience and not necessarily as per your education. So if your experience has been in a field which is relevant to the job offer that you got, then that's fine. But if your experience has not been in relevance to the job offer that you have, then that's where the issue will be. Moving on, Hamadullah, what's your prediction for next round? Will that be FS? And if yes, what will be the cutoff score? I've already sort of answered that. My own feeling is that now we will have all-inclusive draws in coming times. Cutoff score, it's all these predictions about cutoff score can only be predictions, because we do not know how many people enter the pool. The number of people in various CRS ranges it was shared for the date of 4th of August, if I'm not wrong, and the actual draw will happen in about 2 weeks time from now. So it's prediction, but if it is an all-inclusive draw, if it happens in 2 weeks time from when the last draw happened, if the number of invitations are 3,500 plus, then I expect the CRS score to drop, I would say 3 to 5 points compared from what it was in the previous draw. Like it was 476, so it might drop by 3 to 5 CRS points if it is an all-inclusive draw. If it is 2 weeks or about 3 weeks, and if it is 3,500 plus applicants. Alhamdulillah, my score is 475. If you have 475, it has a very good possibility in the next all-inclusive draw whenever that happens. Mike Quebec, hello, my score is 472. Do you think if the next draw is FSW, I will have a decent chance? 472, the very next draw might just be marginal. As I already mentioned, I expect the drop to be between 3 to 5 CRS score points. So you might just be there on the borderline. If it is 4 to 5 points, great. But if we have consistent FSW inclusive draws, probably in about 2 draws, in the second draw, you most likely have a chance of being invited. Ramin Yusuf, London visa office open or not for spousal sponsorship? They are processing, but they are processing with a lot of delays. So it's not that the spousal sponsorship applications are not being processed. They are being processed, but there's a lot of delays. Alhamdulillah, if I want to study in Canada to increase my score, would that be an issue if I'm already have an application for FSW in the pool? Well, yes. It depends. See, if you're applying for a temporary visa, you have to prove that your intention is to be in Canada on a temporary basis, and you have to convince the officer that at the end of that visa, temporary visa, you will most likely leave Canada. Now, that does not mean that you cannot apply for these two things simultaneously. You can. Even if you've applied for this, you could still apply. It's called, the legal term for this is dual intent. And then if one of our clients is applying in such a situation, then we use the case law and the legal clauses to communicate to the officer the dual intent thing, where you cannot be refused because of this dual intent. You just have to make sure that you have applied for the permanent residency, or your application is there because they have the data. And the temporary application that you're submitting, you have to submit such documentation that you convince that if you do not have your permanent residency by then, and you just have the temporary resident status or the temporary visa, if it ends at the end of that temporary resident visa, you will most likely leave Canada. So the dual intent thing, you cannot be rejected just because of the dual intent. If you can convince the case officer, then absolutely no issue applying for your study permit as well. Okay, so Jeevan, I had one more question in mind. My passport is newly renewed and doesn't have any stamp. Do I need to upload only the new passport, or should I include my? Well, you have to. It's not that just the current passport. You have to provide, depending on which application you're doing. Like if you have to provide the 5 years travel history or 10 years travel history, you have to provide all visa labels, all stamps, biodata pages of all of that. It's not that you just provide your current passport. You have to provide all previous travel history as well. Arjun, I'll take a couple of questions and then we'll end it. Arjun, in case my wife gets pregnant after receiving the ITA, we were applied as to what will happen to our file, considering we have proof of funds for 3 as per the requirement. No, it will not get rejected. Not at all. A lot of people are in this situation. You just have to, depending for medicals, because usually during pregnancy, medicals are not conducted, so you will inform them and they will do some there are various procedures. They will put the medical on hold for a while, and they will not process that, and then you can add, if your PR application has not been final by that time and you have your child, you can add that child. It will take more time, it will require some more documentation, but yes, that can be added. See, it's not something that because of their PR application you cannot have a family and you cannot have children, or you cannot get married. Absolutely no. If it is all genuine, there are ways and means for having this done. We get to have similar situations for our clients on a normal basis, so you can always add family members. You just have to keep immigration informed if you've already submitted your application. If you've not had an ITA and you have a child, you need to right away update that in your express entry profile. If your application has already been submitted, you have to inform immigration on that. If you have an ITA and you have not still submitted your application and your family status changes, family composition changes, you have to update them right away and provide the required documentation. Nishat Bagla, can we submit 2 express entry profiles? For instance, I'm married but not sure if my wife would accompany me or not. No, you cannot have 2 express entry profiles. System would not allow you. If you do that, you can have negative consequences for that. Like if at times there's a system glitch and you do it, you cannot have 2 express entry profiles. You make a profile, and then you decide if you would go with this or not. See, there are 2 different things. In your question, you're asking, you're not sure if your wife would accompany you or not. Now the choice, even if you put her in your application and then both of you get your PR, she can decide not to travel. That's a different thing. If you're looking at the points, like as a non-accompanying spouse and getting more points, that's a totally different thing. But you should mention, if it is not impacting your points as such, then you should include her in your application so that it gets processed right now. She can do a soft landing, or she might travel later on. There are options, but you cannot have 2 different profiles. In fact, I would say that if she's not planning on traveling, then you make 1 profile, put her details so that she is reviewed in your main application, and then put her as a non-accompanying spouse, so that her PR is not granted at this stage, but all her scrutiny is done, so that later on, whenever she wishes to apply for PR, you'll have to do the PR spousal sponsorship from within Canada, but that will be a slightly easier process because her review would have already happened. Nishabagla, I'm thinking of submitted 2 profiles. Nishant Singh, Amritsariya, is gift deed acceptable? I have got my ITA and I want to show some funds through gift deed, please. Yes, gift deed is acceptable. You just have to have it all the documentation done in a proper way as to who is gifting you this money. It should be a proper gift deed. Money trail should be there. If somebody's gifting this money to you, make sure that they have enough supporting documents to show that this money actually belonged to them and this was legally owned money. So gift deed in itself is acceptable. You can get those funds from your family, but you need to provide proper documentation for that. Mahak Mehta, I'm a dentist, want to know about experience proof as I am self-employed and don't have current account on name of my firm. You can definitely submit experience as a self-employed person under Express Entry profile. It's just that if it is self-employed, then you have to provide very strong documentation for that. Your transactions, the money that you were earning, if you've registered yourself, where you were practicing, you just have to provide much more documentation if you're self-employed compared with if you're on a job. So as a dentist, and if you look at the knock code for dentists, it clearly mentions that these people work for clinics and they can be self-employed as well, or they have their own practice. So you could definitely do that. It's just that you would be required to provide substantial documentation to prove that it was legit work experience that you had. So just focus on the documentation piece. Get legal help if you would want to have your documentation reviewed, but focus on building a strong case in terms of your documentary evidence, but it is acceptable. Engineer Safiullah, what kind of experience certificate should I provide for immigration? Engineer Safiullah, I do not know your whole case, and I don't know which stream you would want to apply for, but if you're looking for skilled migration, you have to provide work experience, employment reference letters, work reference letters, which are supposed to provide your detailed duties of your job, your duration of work, contact details of your employer, the amount of hours per week or per month that you were putting in that job, your salary and benefits. And it has to link to the specific knock code that you nominate. And it has to meet the lead statement as well as the detailed responsibilities as well. So last 2 questions that I have, because we're already close to about 50 minutes. Rahul Dhawan, sir, 469 FSW received OANP also. Shall I proceed with PNP? 469 is a strong score, but I would say if you have OANP, don't waste your time. Don't wait for something which is uncertain. Start working on, you have 45 days. So you would still have, because this happened about a week ago, so you would still have about 38 days. Start preparing your documents. A lot of these documents would be required for you if you get FSWP IT as well. Start working on those documents. If in the meantime you get your ITA under FSW, great. Next about 35 days we might have 2 more draws. But if you don't have that, proceed with your OINP. I mentioned it already, a bird in hand is better than 2 on the bush. Capitalize on the opportunity that you have rather than waiting for something else. Arjun, thanks Hassan Shariq for answering all the questions with such patience. Your weekly session is really very helpful. I'm glad. Very honestly, I had to take this time out of my family time, like my but I feel and see, the objective is that I have a service which I offer and I charge for that. There's absolutely, and I'm licensed by the Canadian government, but I feel really bad when I see like I'm originally from Pakistan, so I've witnessed that. I have a lot of clients from all around South Asia, so when I get to see and I get to have these emails from people from India and Pakistan and Bangladesh and even Middle East, a lot of my clients, some in Africa as well, where I get to see that a lot of these so-called consultants who are not licensed, who've not had their education in Canadian immigration law, who are not recognized by the Canadian government. They cheat people because people do not have a lot of information. This information is all available here and there, but yes, it is too much of information, even for us who do this day in, day out, who've studied Canadian immigration law. At times it's not right there in our head, and that's where these people exploit people and cheat. So the objective of doing these social media sessions is actually to provide that generic policy information. I'm not going to do any case specific thing because that is my bread and butter. So that I do as a paid service, but these policy guidelines so that people know about it, and at least some people would. I know I can't really help everybody be safe from these scams and frauds, but if I can help a few of you, that would be great. So that's my objective. So really pleased to have your comments on this, and thanks for sharing that. I'd greatly love this kind of feedback from all of you. To end, just the last piece, Vinesh Roy, hope for CEC draws, any chance? I don't think so that there will be many CEC draws now, as we have dip and draw scores when only CEC categories, and now again it today goes to streams. And in any chances, I believe Ontario has less backlog will issue in easy time. Yes, Rahul, that's kind of true. And now Ontario is kind of opening up as well, so it might not be an issue. And keep in mind, if you get a nomination by a province, a lot of scrutiny has already happened. You've got those documents. So then when you get an ITA under the express entry and you apply to the federal government, your processing is way quicker compared to a fresh application to IRCC. So if you get your nomination by the province of Ontario, they send you a nomination in about 2 to 3 months, and then you apply for your federal program. It's quicker compared to the normal application. Last one, Gurinder Gill. Hello sir, please tell me how much time does it will take after submitting documents in this COVID scenario. I have submitted on 15 July and PS fees. Gurinder, you have not even mentioned which application you submitted, so I can't really answer on that. And on this note, I will call this off. Thank you so very much for listening to me and taking out the time. At times it's not the best because I'm not a techie, so it falters. I would greatly appreciate your comments, your feedback on this particular video, on our other videos. I would request all of you to help me in supporting my channel as well, because that is going to help me. Like the videos, share it with other people, post your comments, subscribe, because this is going to help me have the favor of YouTube algorithm and grow my channel, and that will help me serve a lot of you people out there in a much better way. So your support requested. If you have any questions, do post that in comment section. I've already mentioned, for those who are interested in PNP options, once I finish this in say about 10-15 minutes, this will be uploaded. In the comment section of the video, just mention your knock code, and we will try in next about 1 to 2 days, myself and my social media team will try and suggest some PNP options based on your knock, and we will also say if there isn't any possibility right now. So do that. Till the next time that we meet, take care, and Allah Hafiz.